What's up, guys? This is Kephas.
The single button assistant is now live in World of Warcraft, and the numbers might just surprise you. When the single button assistant was first announced, it raised a lot of eyebrows. Some people dismissed it outright, assuming it was a gimmick, maybe something for leveling or extreme edge cases. Others were skeptical about how it would actually function in real content. Would it break rotations? Would it dumb things down? Would it even work? What's surprised me, and I think surprised a lot of people, is that it actually does work, and pretty well. From an accessibility standpoint, that alone is worth celebrating. But even setting that aside, what we're seeing is a tool that handles a wide variety of specs and playstyles better than most players expected, and that makes it worth looking at seriously. Let's talk about what the single button assistant does and doesn't do. At its core, it automates your specs priority list, and that means it tracks your buffs and debuffs, manages procs, spends resources at the right time, switches between AoE and single target based on proximity, and even handles round targeted abilities like Meteor or Volley. It covers a lot of ground, and it does so with more consistency than, frankly, a lot of players probably realize. Of course, it's not perfect. There's a built-in 25% increase to the global cooldown while using it, so it's casting fewer abilities over time than a manual player would. It also doesn't use your offensive cooldowns, so abilities like Avenging Wrath, Combustion, or Avatar won't be triggered automatically. That's a significant gap in some rotations, and it won't manually use your trinkets, racials, or any special case utility. Those are all on you. And so, with those limitations, you'd expect the performance to suffer significantly. But according to Wowhead's parse testing, the single button assistant is sitting at around 75 to 85% of their optimal damage potential for most specs, with some creeping closer to 90% and only a few dipping below 70. That's a strong showing. You have to keep in mind that very few people are reaching their optimal performance, and most of us aren't even coming close. Some might argue that it makes the tool broken or perhaps overpowered, but whether you feel that way or not, it certainly means that it's way more viable than we initially thought. And it also raises an interesting question: how well are most of us actually performing? Because a lot of people are seeing 80% parses and realizing that that would be a significant gain, while other people are seeing it as being close enough to be a worthy trade-off. At the end of the day, what's a 5% DPS loss if you can relieve some of that cognitive load? And to me, that suggests that a lot of players are struggling way more than they realize, or at the very least, that the design of modern specs has introduced a level of rotational friction that the single button assistant, ironically, bypasses. This is something that a lot of players are seeing as relief. Now, that doesn't mean that the SBA replaces player skill or that it's better than manual play. It's not. A skilled player managing their rotation well is absolutely going to outperform the single button assistant, but what it does offer is a kind of consistency that many players don't reach on their own. It's also worth noting that this isn't about laziness. For a lot of people, this is about access. There are players with visual impairments, mobility limitations, or cognitive fatigue who've struggled to keep up with WoW's increasing mechanical demands. This tool absolutely gives them a foothold. It lowers the execution barrier without removing all skill from the game, and that's a big deal. The big concern with the single button assistant is that it undermines skill, that it removes the challenge and expression that makes WoW rewarding. And I get that. I'm an accessibility advocate, but I also care about the game. The game should have a point, and overcoming hard content, improving as a player, and mastering your class all matter. But here's the thing. I don't think the single button assistant threatens that as much as people fear. Could it carry you through normal or even heroic raids? Maybe. Low mythics? Possibly, but the single button assistant isn't going to take you to high mythic plus keys or mythic rating. It doesn't handle cooldowns, it lags on the global cooldown. It's consistent, but not optimal. And if you want to push high-end content, you really shouldn't be using it. I don't think most people are going to. Where I think the single button assistant really shines is that it makes WoW more playable for a lot of people, especially the ones who've been quietly struggling, because retail WoW has become a high cognitive load game. You're juggling timers, weak auras, rotation complexity, procs, cooldowns, interrupts, mechanics. It's a lot, and that hasn't always been the case. WoW wasn't designed to be an action game in the early days. It slowly evolved into one, and many players, especially longtime ones, are feeling that strain. This tool lifts that burden. It lets you stop stressing about your rotation so you can actually focus on the fight. For some, it's about disability or limitations. For others, it's just about reclaiming some sanity and having fun, and frankly, that's valid. Now, there is a cost to this kind of automation, and it's one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, because what this tool is going to do is it's going to disengage you from your class. You're not making decisions, managing your tools, learning the feel of your spec. That's the trade-off. And as someone who's used GSE for years, I've never pretended this was the ideal way to play. It's just the necessary way for me. But I've always made class guides alongside my macros because I still care about understanding the game, even if I can't fully execute it the way others can. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'll keep learning, teaching, and engaging with this side of the game because I love it. But I also know tools like the SBA help people reach content they'd otherwise miss. And I'm okay with that, as long as WoW still protects the highest tiers of challenge for players who want to earn them. At the end of the day, this tool gives you a choice. You trade some mechanical engagement for consistency and ease of use. For some people, that's a worthy trade. For others, it's not. But that choice, that accessibility, that's worth defending. But either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Just please be respectful, especially to those who rely on tools like this to play. And you know what? If you made it this far, this was a long one. So thank you so much. It really does mean a lot. Now I'm going to go hop in and try this thing out some more. I'll be making more videos on the single button assistant soon, so stay tuned. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.